Thank you for staying with us. As the nation prepares for the next general election, which will happen early next year, political parties and the Independent National Electoral Commission are putting their houses in order. One issue which still stands out is the Electoral Amendment Bill, which President Buhari withheld assent to in what he says is in the interest of democracy. Will the National Assembly veto the president or remove the contentious clause which prescribes mandatory direct primaries for political parties? Joining me to discuss this is former chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council and political analyst Kabir Shittu. He joins me from Abuja. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, Nigeria, and thank you.
Now, let's begin by going back in time. Since 1999, when we returned to democracy, we have been looking at improving our process. And we saw some level of amendments in 2002, 2006, 2010. How has that brought us closer to achieving a free, fair, transparent election and moved our democracy forward?
Thank you. Good morning. You find out that if you look at amendment of 2006 and that of 2010, in 2006, the electoral body, which is INEC, has no power with which to regulate party much until the 2010 amendment, which give power to the INEC to regulate political party activities and introduce some measures with which to regulate the political party. Now, if you look at in 2012, 2013, 2011, when I was secretary, then chairman of the Party Advisory Council, we were able to bring in about 3 bills, which some of them up till date will have regulate our electoral system. Especially, we are talking of Electoral Offences Commission. These are very, very important. It will help us in order for people, because if you have a society where you have reward and punishment, then you are talking. But in this respect, there is no punishment much in our electoral system. The INEC that is saddled with that have much to bite, so they cannot even go into prosecution of electoral offenses. And when you have electoral offenses where the police under them are trained on electoral matters, they will take it. They know that it is a civil issue. It's not issue of defining. So they will say, wait, and there are many other things we will have gained through that. Secondly, in order to curb winners take all, we said, okay, there must be some sort of issue electoral where when you win an election, and if there's an election and a party has been able to get up to 30% of that electoral result, they should be taken on proportional representatives, so that they can go to the assembly or in the government to propagate that ideology. This will bring about ideological political parties and then entrench ideology in our electoral system. This has not been done, which we've been talking. Then we are also looking at what is on the front burner today, which we are talking of the 2021 Electoral Act. In the 2021 Electoral Act, we should note, despite how beautiful it is, for us, I will have hastened to say Mr. President should, as quickly as possible, sign that into law. But only one clause, which I urge the National Assembly to please look at it as soon as they come back, and then amend it and take it back for President assent. We commend their resolute. We commend what the National Assembly are doing. And we also need to look at what the country is going through. If you are talking of election in just one, with this, an electionary year we have entered, and you are now talking of parties political direct primaries. We should also note that political parties were formed, and even they sent their constitution and manifestos to the INEC before they were registered. In this constitution and manifesto, especially in the constitution that of the political parties, some parties believe that it is by consensus that their candidates will come up. Some parties believe that through direct primary they will conduct their election. Some parties believe that through indirect primaries is when they will conduct their election. So if you are looking at this and you now said the country must, as at today, in the 2021 Electoral Act, that all political parties must adapt to direct primaries, it will bring litigation. And this is what we have seen. And then
but doesn't that go to show that
not all
perhaps
parties,
there needs to be some level of democracy, internal democracy within the political parties, that something isn't right with the internal democracy within political parties if we see the legislative arm of government trying to come up with something that could help the system?
For us, we believe that, yes, be as it may, it is the same. If you are talking of direct primaries and you are talking of indirect primaries, the difference between it is that in the direct primaries, you go to counties or you go to villages, you go to every district. Why in the indirect primaries, the same villages, they still start from the same ward, the same villages level to the ward to local government. The only difference is that instead of voting direct from that side, they bring it to the headquarters, either to the ward, and then from ward they elect what the local government delegate. Then from local government delegate they elect the national delegate. We've witnessed this in the 1992-93 elections in the country, and we've seen the quantum resources that takes. And if you are talking of internal democracy also involves political parties' constitution. What are their constitution? If today you said it must be direct primaries, that means political parties have to go back now, amend their constitution. And you know the process of amending political party constitution, that means you must now call for national convention. First of all, they will start from that indirect primary to now conduct their national convention. And it is the national convention that can change the political party constitution. So before you get to that, before you amend the constitution, if it was indirect or if your constitution is direct or if your constitution is about consensus, it takes time. And then you find out that it will overstretch the timetable of INEC, and INEC will not have time to be able to, and that why we are talking of litigation is that some would indirectly wait and make sure that by the time the election is over, they go into court and said that time does not allow them to go into to conduct the direct primaries. Why do we as a country and as people at this particular time want to take it upon our hand to what we know that could cause anarchy? So it's better we avoid it, and that is why we are urging the National Assembly. They have good intention, that everybody know. They want to defend democracy, they want to entrench democratic norms in the country. But the timing is not yet right. Let them just let them just amend that section and then take it back to Mr. President and urge Mr. President to sign it.
So for
that's
you,
the timing area that we need to look at.
The timing is not right. That's what the issue is for you.
That is not right. Be as good as it may, we will only send to 2023 election into anarchy, because some people will deliberately wait and they will not do their primaries, and they will now.
Why? Because some would say that if you know something is important to you, you would ensure that you do it in time. But when it comes to issues bordering on internal democracy and all of it, especially with regards to political parties, let's take a critical look. Isn't it time for parties to begin to look inwards and make necessary amendments to carrying everybody along, ensuring that there is no rancor and no violence involved in anything that has to do with decision-making at that level?
Yes, the political parties are to entrench democratic norms and to be able to get internal democratic system within the political party. But in entrenching political party norms, we have different ideology. Your ideology may not be my ideology about the building of the country. And that is why I have my own constitution that guide me as political party. Party A cannot be of the same ideology with Party B. And Party B may share the same ideology with Party C, but may share differences in their constitution. And that is why we must be very careful when we are taking decisions about political parties. Because political parties is the engine of democratic process. And in taking decisions for political parties, for me, for us, we believe that if you ask us, we must, at this time, start looking at marrying and looking at our own political system according to our culture and belief. That is good. If you look at direct primary, it's beautiful, but the timing is very wrong. The timing is wrong in the sense that if you look at the country, you look at insecurity, you look at what is the enormous resources that you have to spend. As we are talking today, some of our farmers cannot even go to their farm. In fact, some of villages where you are going to talk of conducting all this are not there. As soon as you talk of this, violence everywhere. So what we are saying, that section just be expunged, take it back to Mr. President, because we have beautiful amendment that we are waiting for, the electoral, we are talking of electronic transmission of result. There are a lot of things in that amendment that the electoral 2021 Electoral Act that is good, but we only point out the area that we need to look at. Political parties must be allowed to practice according to their constitution in order not to drag the country into anarchy.
Right. Now, a lot of persons are hoping that when the members of the National Assembly resume later this month, something will be done. But what do you see happening? There are those who are saying perhaps there will be a veto of the president's decision, and there are those who perhaps are saying that since they have gone to deliberate with their constituents, they might just want to expunge that from the document. But whichever way, where do you stand on this decision?
For us, we believe that the National Assembly are patriots. The National Assembly members are Nigerians. The National Assembly member want what will be good for this country. All of us want what will be good for this country. We want the country democratic norms to be entrenched, and that is what the National Assembly also want, and that is why they go into this 2021 Amendment Bill. But we believe that from what I'm hearing, if I may share with TVC, from the north to the south to the east, there are a lot of deliberation going on, and some have come to realize that, yes, we have to expunge this section so that we go on. When, in the first place, before they leave to their constituencies, there are issues of, yes, we have to veto. But as I'm talking to you, I know 60 to 70% are already changing their mind because they've gone back to their constituency. Some have seen it practical. They've deliberated with some of us, some of the politicians in the villages, and they've seen that there's no need dragging anything that will help the country. And they are patriots. They are patriotic enough. They have the country at the back of their heart, as me and you have the country at the back of our heart. So I believe that when they come back, they will do the amendment. And you can see even the CSO, the IAGA, the albinos, all of them have also come back to say, look, there are a lot of points they bring out that amendment must be made, and so that they could as quickly as possible, send it back to Mr. President so that we can have 2021 electoral bill. We urge the National Assembly that they should, because of the country, because of the country is for all of us to build, we must create a country that will work for all of us, and the amendment will also help in entrenching democratic norms further in our country. So when they come back, they will do the needful, which is to send it back to Mr. President, and then instead of vetoing it.
All right, former chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council and political analyst, Kabir Shittu, thank you for your time on the program.
Thank you.